and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Upsurge Premier League here tonight on this beautiful Tuesday. My name is Orbital. I'm joined here by Rebel Fox, and we are bringing you world-class Empyreans versus Charlotte Phoenix, a rematch in this division so far. Rebel, how are you doing today, and are you excited to cast some awesome League of Legends?
That I am really doing really good today. Had a couple of nice days to relax, take a little bit of a break from casting, but I'm happy to come back to Upsurge Premier League. Coming into the second round robin here in the Ocean Division should be a fantastic series for us.
Yeah, absolutely. These two squads have obviously already gone through three harrowing weeks so far. And honestly, their division is still fairly close. Again, yes, only three matches, not a whole lot to go on for some people. But again, that is Charlotte Hornets sitting at 2-1, having had a win over world class Empyreans in week number one, and now maybe looking to push that to a 2-0 against them.
Charlotte has been almost like a surprise. They've taken off games from a couple of the top teams, including Mirage in their own group, which I think was an upset in a lot of people's eyes. They did lose that one game to life support, unfortunately, which brought them only to 2-1 at the top of the group. So, I mean, this is the one matchup that they felt comfortable and felt definitive as opposed to the other ones where they lost to life support and then beat Mirage. So, coming into the second rotation, Charlotte's still at the top of their group, but they got to keep that handle on some of the games that they need to win. A loss against Empyreans, a loss against Life Support means Mirage can easily take that number one spot back. And I want to see Charlotte continue at the level that we know they can, because again, they've knocked off some of the top teams before.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, looking into this upcoming series, these are the guys that you do have to watch out for. Again, you want to distance yourselves from a lot of your competitors as well. So as we do get into the pick and ban phase here, world class appearance will be on the blue side to start, and Charlotte Phoenix will be on the red side already. Fiora and Syndra taken off the table. So looking like we have some targeted bans mixed in with some meta bans.
Nothing crazy to see there. Eason is a massive Fiora player. Not shocking to see that. When Charlotte Phoenix leans on him quite a bit, he's a fantastic carry for the team, and it's not shocking to see not only a really good carry taken off the board, but something he's particularly good at in the top side of the map. And then Rovex, now renamed, you're going to see him, but it is Rovex, of course, out of the mid lane. Plays a mean Syndra. Syndra's absolute still one of the best mid laners you can take, especially in a blind pick, making sure that doesn't come through. Wouldn't be shocked to see the Varus here as well. It's a pretty popular red side ban just to make sure that doesn't come through. The Senna was taken off the board just a little bit ago. The Trundle already being hovered. Wow, we're zooming through these bans here.
They say we're not messing around. We know what you guys play. We know what we want to play. So no messing around, as you said. But high priority champions, like you said, the Syndra taken off. You predicted the Varus as well. So targeting pretty much every single power lane and already setting a precedence for the upcoming first game of this best of three. What do we think might come out for the first picks for both sides?
You're still looking at, I was going to say Graves. The Graves get swapped at the last second. You still have Set and Ornn available as competitive top lane picks. The Renekton is still available also as something aggressive for Charlotte Phoenix to respond with. So I wouldn't be shocked to see, I would say the Set is a much better blind pick in this case than the Ornn because it's a little more flexible. Ornn almost been purely relegated essentially to the top lane, whereas Set's still able to get out and about on the map. You can go top lane with him, but there's very little flexibility to jungle and mid anymore, but support is the big one. You can still flex him support if you're comfortable with the Callista. Wouldn't be shocked to see that one come through. So there's a little bit more hiding here from the side of world-class Empyreans with their first pick.
Yeah, and so with the set locked in, we do see the Aphelios come out. Aphelios, we've always talked about, the ADC changes and how that's changed everything and how it kind of hasn't changed anything. A little bit of health here, a little bit of attack speed here doesn't seem to affect that ADC meta too much. So Aphelios blind picked here, and the J4 hovered. So far already building that synergy through the compositions, stacking up for Charlotte Phoenix.
Making sure that they've got teamfight locked down already. I mean, Phelios takes a little while to get online, but once he's started into that second and third Zeal item, you're going to start to feel him really hit hard. And of course, the Jarvan, guaranteed go button for your team. The EQ, you have the flat stats from the attack speed. The Cataclysm, massive for locking members down. Really good pick to go alongside it. So they're already looking to play more grouped up together. The Jarvan's kind of the pivotal piece to that. Now, the Kindred on the opposite side could be the response. It's certainly been climbing consistently as one of these kind of, you don't think of it as a top-tier jungler, but I think everything above it has been hit so hard, then and again with Nurse. Eventually, Kindred's got to be up there in priority. So you see the Kindred as response to the Jarvan, can get out on the map, can aggress early, can even put pressure on the Jarvan in the right situation. And the Karma gets grabbed here, potentially is a flex between a couple of the different solo lanes, but certainly going to help out that bot lane matchup no matter what, if it is going to be down.
Yeah, Karma coming right back out. It's a refreshing sight to see against a lot of the other enchanters like the Yumi. So it looks like Yumi might be hovered here, might be picked up. And again, Yumi has been a terrifying force on the Rift, banned in high, solo queue, banned just about everywhere. So that is locked in. So the bottom lane has been set for Charlotte Phoenix. We'll have to see what they decide to do for the solo lanes. World class Empyreans definitely have their choice coming into their primary carries in the mid and ADC role.
Is Charlotte Phoenix continue to hammer down on this composition that's really forward fighting, a lot more team fight focused? On the opposite side, though, I like that World Class has been adapting some of their picks more towards like a counter engage style. So you got Kindred ultimate to make sure you don't just lose an initial engagement, say a Moonlight Vigil or a Cataclysm, and even a Yumi ultimate all tag all at once. It's a lot of upfront damage. That ultimate's going to make sure no one gets burst out. And then for the follow-up, you have Karma ultimate E. You can follow up a fight, or you can use that to mitigate that initial damage as well. There's plenty of ways to counteract the team fight that's come out from Charlotte Phoenix already. I love that World Class has found ways to get their composition to work against the opposition. My problem is, I don't know how cohesive this is. Again, is Karma going to be at the support role? If so, you just lost the Enchanter battle because Yumi is seen as a much stronger, especially in the late game support. So I'm curious, especially since it's Aphelios Yumi, if they're able to kind of adapt this pick to go mid or top so they can put something more aggressive to punish the much worse early game of Aphelios Yumi, especially with no mobility in that 80s.
Yeah, and you can already see the kind of objective control that they're going for. World-class Empyreans say, okay, you don't take the mid, we'll definitely take it. So it looks like that Karma is leaning towards that mid lane, considering 2 mid lane bans have been thrown. Charlotte Phoenix on the other side say, okay, ADC is where we want to hammer you in. Renekton being hovered here, and that is going to be locked in against the set, so a try and choose skill matchup into a blind pick for world-class Empyreans.
You don't feel bad taking the Renekton into anything here. Again, Set can still be thrown bottom lane. You still even have Karma top, honestly, if you really, really wanted to. They could get crazy. They could take another top lane or something like that. Yeah, that's real old school. It is. But the good part about Renekton is it doesn't really matter what the matchup is. He's going to feel fine into it, which is what's really cool to me in this composition, that they're able to find that accessibility to a little bit more of just a pure blind pick champion. They go Miss Fortune. Again, probably going to be with the Karma. We still don't have that absolutely locked in, but that's a lot of pressure you can put onto Aphelios and Yumi, and importantly, a lot of lane control that you're going to be able to have. They pivot to the Nautilus. That's really nice little change up there. Again, the Nautilus much better into punishing the pure bottom lane of the Aphelios Yumi than the Karma would. You'd have to play like lane priority style if you don't have the engage. Because they grabbed the Nautilus, they certainly have all of the pressure they need to solo kill in that bottom lane. I want to see World Class take that initiative. I want to see them take that bot lane if they can.
Yeah, I mean, the power of bot lane, Misfortune, Nautilus, you hook one person, you pretty much win that entire engage. On the flip side, we do see the Galio locked in here, so a lot heavier team fight prowess coming out for Charlotte Phoenix with that Galio lock-in. Looks like we're going to have team fight versus team fight here.
Yeah, I mean, you've got massive team fight come through from the side of Charlotte Phoenix. You've got the Cataclysm into the ultimate coming through from Galio. You have Moonlight Vigil, you have Yumi ultimate. You have so much of this just pure forward jump against aggressively into the opposite team fight coming through from the side of Charlotte Phoenix. It's very standard aggressive style team fighting. I like that a lot. World Class, they can play a bit more responsive. Again, the Kindred ultimate, the Karma alt E. You've got Miss Fortune's ultimate. If she's far enough back, doesn't get touched by any of the initial engagement, you can throw a bullet time in and just destroy Jarvan, destroy Galio, Yumi as they continue through the fight, things along those lines. So it does feel very heavily like we're in for a lot of head-to-head team fighting between these two, which I am excited for.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to watch these squads just butt heads, and it really leans itself to who can execute a little bit cleaner. Both compositions do have their team fight moments. They have their ability to turn fights as well. So looking here, I do want to get your opinion, looking at it from a team fight versus team fight perspective, do you think one side has a clear advantage over the other, or do you think both of them are evenly matched and it's going to come down more to the skill factor?
I think it's hard for the side of World Class Empyreans here to make a fight happen. It's hard to pick when they want to hit the go button, because you've got like Karma ulti, you've got some pressure from Nautilus. The set can make some things happen with the flash of things along those lines. But it's so much harder to make and force your will upon your opponent than the side of Charlotte Phoenix. Again, not only is it the Jarvan ultimate, but you've also got Galio E, something along those lines, the big W that can taunt people. You've got the ultimate from Yumi, even like the Renekton dashing through a lot of people as a way to get some sort of soft engagement to start a fight, or at least bait out a fight, something along those lines. That's what's important to me. I think Charlotte Phoenix, in terms of their composition, they're a little bit later in the game. Like the Aphelios is going to have to wait for a couple items. Galio, he eats a lot of early game damage, won't scale quite as well. The Yumi's a lot later of the game, but their later game team fights a lot easier to access compared to World Class. World Class has to rely almost on getting a little bit more of the mid game advantage, the early game advantage for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're running that Karma mid, you know, your mid to late game is definitely not as strong. So heavy reliance on the Kindred, Misfortune, and Set to really power through in the later fights. But now we have to take a look at that early game because, again, even though they have the team fight compositions, if that early game doesn't go their way, there can be some hitches. So looking towards there, do you see any specific lane getting an advantage on their own? And do you see anywhere that we might see a lot more focus than others?
I would like to see on the side of world-class Empyreans them playing a lot towards the mid lane and then also towards the bottom lane. So first things first, the Galio is a difficult brick to break in the mid lane just because of how powerful he is, how tanky he can get, and the fact that Karma's damage is decent, but again, they took quite a bit of it off a long time ago, and so you don't have that later game scaling that the Karma's going to have. You put some pressure there with Kindred, maybe throw Special K into that mid lane as well to put pressure into Hero, make sure he can't get out on the map, or at least push him back a little bit, because you should have control of bottom lane. Again, the Misfortune Nautilus should have more than enough pressure to keep the Aphelios Yumi relatively pushed back in their laning phase, which gives them control of bottom lane. The problem would come from if they collapse the Dragon when the preparation is there from Charlotte Phoenix, even early into the game, the Galio, the Jarvan is going to do too much, and you can end up spiking past with the Aphelios, getting that late game itemization earlier than not. So I got to see them have the control in the lane phase. You want to isolate them individually and then use this Kindred to pick them off or push them back little by little, then use that lane advantage, use those back timers to really push your advantage for the objectives. Because champions individually, one by one, outside of maybe the set, are much more effective in terms of the laning strength as opposed to their opposition.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it right on the head. Again, a little bit harder to execute and a little bit harder to get online. We'll definitely have to take a look and keep track and see if that early game goes in their favor or if it does not. On the flip side, again, Charlotte Phoenix, you have the team fight, you're ready to go. And so, you like to see that setup. And I mean, if Galio gets that heroic entrance, you really don't want to see a knocked up Kindred, Misfortune, and Set going around. That's not exactly where you want to see the team fight go, but we'll have to see what happens in the game. So we will be going to a very short commercial break and talk about one of our awesome sponsors, but do not go anywhere. Game number 1 will be starting here shortly between World Class Empyreans and Charlotte Phoenix. Don't go anywhere.
Started with a vision. A vision of quality, a vision of uniformity. We took the time to create something familiar yet refreshing, something with a bit of change.
Designed to fit any brand's unique vision.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we do get onto the rip for game number 1. On the blue side, we do have world-class Empyreans in the top lane. We do have Speedo. In the jungle, we do have City Witty. In the mid lane, NML. And in the bot lane, we have Lost in a Moment on the ADC role and Special K in support.
And on the red side, we have Charlotte, Phoenix, Easton in the top lane. The Jason Jungle in the jungle position, of course. Hero in the mid lane, Disconnector at ADC, and Daption at support.
Yeah, and I mean, we already see some happiness come out. I feel we do see world-class Empyrean invading a little bit, getting down some ward vision, and a spotted out with that flag. Jason Jungle being able to spot out the support and running them out of the jungle. However, Speedo is able to slide off to the side, so I don't think they spotted him just yet.
Yeah, sometimes you're able to get like a bush pressure here if you're on the side of, yeah, Easton usually sometimes waits here depending on where they're going to see. Speedo's going to have the inside track on him, though. He had no clue he was going to be there.
It's a gator fight. It's a gator hunt. We're going. All right, just a few punches laid out, and the top laners exchange greetings and walk away from each other.
That's a tough one. I get it. Like, if you're Easton, how do you see that coming from any like at all? They get the early invade in to make sure that they've got the Raptor ward and the red buff ward to make sure they have some information once the cross map comes through from Jason Jungle. But of course, he loops all the way out and around and ends up brushing the opposition. Usually that goes the other way. The Renekton gets the initial trade and gets a really good half health, if not like 3/4 health of his opponent off, takes the advantage in the laning phase. But here it's Speedo actually that gets the advantage over Easton.
Yeah, you know, we expected you to invade, just not that way.
Ooh.
You know, just don't go that way next time. Here we go. Hook goes in. Very nice route onto Disconnector, and the Misfortune Nautilus already showing a little bit of pressure into this bottom lane.
Yeah, they got initial push on the wave as well as getting this small trade in, and Kindred had actually entered the jungle of Jason Jungle to make sure that he knew where he was at, maybe to challenge for some of the jungle camps, but wasn't able to make it there fast enough, I don't believe. Still, he's going to have an idea of where he's at. He's actually tracking him and following him everywhere he's going right now, going immediately to the red buff. And I think Jarvan stopped for his Raptors, so this... Oh, no. I can't tell. I can't tell what's happening right now. But either way, the Kindred is going to be challenging for the red buff here.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look on the right-hand side of your screen, you actually see the flash is down for Jason Jungle, so Kindred already gaining an early advantage in that jungle rotation, so having pressure allowing himself to pick up what looks to be a potential 3 buff for himself, so he's very happy about that. Able to pressure the Jarvan, and again, keeping a J4 down like this is very, very important. Cutting off that supply of aggression from the jungle side.
Also crosses from red buff to red buff and picked up the Gromp in the process. I hadn't realized this, but he actually stole the Gromp away from Jason Jungle as well, putting him in even further hole. So he loses one of the best camps he can get early. He's going to deny him at least one of... Okay, so he went double red buff. He's going to get his blue buff. Going to come out and get the first Scuttle Crab on the top side. And of course, the Mark's going to go bottom side. So you can see triple buff and double Scuttle.
Oh,
What?
Oh, that
Okay.
That was close. That was close. I will give it. That was extremely close between the two top laners. You saw Easton sitting just waiting for a spell rotation, and that's kind of the skill matchup that we were looking at, and that's the power that you were talking about with the Renekton in the top lane. He's not afraid to go against any top laner in that regard.
I was not expecting it to happen. That's why I kept talking. You should have yelled at me to say so, because I really wasn't expecting it to come through right there. I thought they were just going to break me. I thought they were going to tap gloves and walk away.
I don't think anyone was, really. I mean, Speedo looks surprised he didn't even flash.
Yeah, he still got the summoner up. Doesn't really matter. I'm just too focused right now on City Witty running absolute control of this jungle. He's getting second Gromp over Jason Jungle, too. This poor Jarvan is getting just absolutely destroyed by Kindred at the moment.
Yeah, and that also signals a pretty unfortunate scenario, as you see a hook on this bottom lane. Disconnector actually got ignited, gets knocked down all the way down to about 10 health, gets to heal off. On the other side, though, City Witty dueling out Jason Jungle, so getting some good damage down on this bottom lane. Pressure is there, and a little bit of a tag as well. Root goes down. City Witty has to get the Defiant Shield off, and NML keeps his jungler alive in a very hectic jungle fight on the bot side.
Through the entire play, I think I have to give it... Ooh, teleport to the bottom side.
Oh, that was a flash coming out from both bottom lane members of World Class Empyrean, but a teleport actually followed up, so a channeled root and taunt comes out. Hero coming in, trying to be the big man on the board. Does get a little damage down, but no kill. A teleport as well from NML, a late teleport, I might add. A little bit of a root comes out. Flag and Drag knocks up NML, so this is going to be a little bit of trade. Flash Taunt makes his return, and a knockup as well. Lost in a moment was lost his life. And that's going to be a kill for the side of Charlotte Phoenix as they take the extended trade in the bottom lane.
Perfect little play towards the bottom side of the map there. I really enjoy, especially Jason Jungle uses the EQ to knock up the Karma and reduces the root that would come out onto here to make sure he doesn't get followed up on by the rest of the plays. Then he takes the front line with the Yuumi attached and allows for space here for Disconnector to rejoin the fight. Picks up the first or the second kill of the game here for their Aphelios. And again, bottom side's where your strength is at on the side of Empyreans right here. So you've got, of course, the EDC Aphelios is getting a little bit of gold back in his pockets to contest against the early game of the Misfortune. Got to appreciate that they're going to be able to get that advantage for themselves.
Yeah, and not only that advantage, I mean, you have to think of it in the same way that we had talked about it, right? World-class Empyrean. I mean, I honestly think they needed to win this early game as hard as possible, and yet they're now down 2 kills. They're down about 500 gold, and that's only going to get worse from here on out.
They need somewhere to put on pressure. Again, their top side of the map isn't particularly advantageous. We saw already Easton gets the solo kill up against Speedo, even with that really good early trade coming through from Speedo. City Witty's been doing a good job in just the individual matchup against Jason Jungle, but that got wiped for the most part on that bottom side play. And then finally, I mean, you've got the Karma, who's a Karma. You're not really going to win the lane as the Karma. You're really more for that late game supportive style that you're going to be running with. So it is the Misfortune and the Nautilus that you're looking to play around a lot more. At least the Kindred, somebody along those lines, needs to get really far ahead and do the best that they can do. At the moment, it seems more like the Kindred route than anything. How do you support a jungler to make sure that they get to the late game and start pumping out the damage?
Yeah, well, the one thing that we can't rely on is the hook coming out of Special K. He's hit, I think, multiple so far onto Aphelios. So Disconnector, again, getting chunked out, and they'll definitely take that support for ADC trade.
They will. I'm watching, just the wave is stacking slowly. That was a really nice timing to have that hook come out because they were able to push Disconnector off the wave, and they're going to be able to push in. That's just pressure towards the Dragon. They didn't really have control of mid lane to actually contest it either, so it wasn't entirely necessary. But again, off the back of some small advantage, they pushed the Aphelios and the Yuumi back, so there is no contention that can come through. Not that they're level 6 to help out with the skirmish anyway, but again, those are the little windows you want to look to take advantage of if you're the Kindred. It's not the big moments. It's not trying to sneak it between things and a team fight to collapse to. It's that if you bring Hero and Jason Jungle there, everybody else on the side, it becomes a 4v2 because of the Aphelios.
Yeah, absolutely. With the first dragon going down, that was a Mountain Drake, so having about 6% extra armor and magic resist is going to be very nice. Cloud Drake is going to be, the second dragon on the board, so that does mean our favorites, Ocean Soul or Infernal Soul, will be on the table for this game, which I think makes this game that much more exciting.
Yeah, I would say Infernal Soul for both teams feels like the preference. I think Infernal Soul specifically, I think, is fantastic on the side of Charlotte Phoenix. The Ocean Soul, we got another fight top lane. I'm not letting this one slip through. Go back to fighting. I know what's going to happen.
Listen, we saw it once. Just do it. That's all we care about. We do see Easton, though, getting a little bit better of that trade, already running that potion. So he's going to be very happy and content to sit on that top lane and just try and push his CS lead a little bit further.
This did buy me time to consider a little bit more, again, about those Drakes. Ideally, and again, we might not get to Dragon Soul, of course, because it does take a long time. But if we're talking about which one you would prefer on each team, Infernal Soul seems like a really good soul to have if you're on the side of Charlotte Phoenix, because your damage is up front. You want to load that in as best as possible. Whereas on the side of Empyreans here, the Ocean Soul would be massive. You'd be able to regenerate from the initial damage coming through, especially, again, when you've got the Karma ulti, when you've got the Kindred ultimate, that Ocean Soul afterwards gives you a big boon to the sustainability through the remainder of the fight. That is a massive tool they could easily use. So I think both teams cheering for the opposite side here because obviously they're looking to boost their team fight specifically.
Yeah, that would be the hope as much as possible. We do see both. It looks like we actually have a lane swap. Sorry, I was taking a look. I thought that was a push from the top jungle. No, that's actually the ADC and support roaming up. So an initiated lane swap here coming out. That's going to be the ultimate coming out of Renekton. That's going to be the bullet time clipping everyone as well. Special K does not have any ultimate, but that's going to be the chase in from City Witty. Flash comes out of Jason Jungle. That means Easton is left all on his lonesome, and Lost is able to pick up a kill for himself.
Yeah, nice rotation here from the side of Empyreans. They get their bot lane to the top side to try to challenge for the Rift Herald, and actually in the rotation, they're able to find Easton sleeping a little bit. Jason Jungle had come to cover him in case that exact thing happened, but it was City Witty who also was able to make the play happen ahead of time. The communication from them was gorgeous right there. So now they punished the top side of the map by killing Easton, and again, this is what I'm talking about. These little lane advantages, even if that weren't a kill and just a pushback, even if it didn't burn the flash or anything along those lines, just getting Easton off the map, making sure he can't put the pressure on, buys space here for City Witty to take another neutral objective. This is what you're looking for. These are the resources to put into the Kindred to make sure that you can continue to put pressure on the map. And they've controlled it so far. They got the first Dragon, getting the first Rift Herald. They're 2 down, 1 kill, but that's not massive at this point. These control of objectives is big, and they understand what their composition needs to do to keep control of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Kindred is pretty much sitting on this bottom lane advantage, and there we go. Rift Herald has been dropped top, and that's why you see a push down here from Disconnector and Daption. But that is going to be a massive plate take from World Class Empyrean. Very nice job. First tower at 11 minutes, so they collect every single plate for themselves. That evens up the plates, I believe, so far, from 5 plates to 3 between the two teams. So they're very happy about this matchup.
Yeah, importantly, also, again, you're getting more gold into the pockets of both the Kindred and the Misfortune, who are kind of the late-game damage threats in this particular case. We got Jason Jungle, big Cataclysm.
Oh, big Cataclysm locks him in, but that's going to pull the flashes and an immediate bullet time as well. Jason Jungle bit off a bit more than he could chew. Double teleport from the Empyrean solo laners as they jump in. Easton gets rooted over the wall, but that's going to be Empower Q, followed with the flash, and that is going to be Speedo making a splash. As Hero is run down, the Galio is no more immortal being, and that is a quick 3 kills on the back of an engage from Charlotte Phoenix.
Very pretty what we're going to be able to see at the end, just because of the fact that, again, you're playing around the top side of the map. You move 2 members up. Jason Jungle pulls the trigger because, again, you've got this massive team fight, but you don't have the damage behind it. Disconnector's not there yet. Daption's not there yet to support it. So without all of the members there, they simply don't have the fight. So Jason Jungle gets this massive engage. You got the Galio coming in, but here's Misfortune. Watch, this bullet time is going to be huge. It ends up getting everybody caught in here after all things said and done. And because of that bullet time, you end up shutting out a lot of the damage in the fight from the opposite side. Then it's just afterwards, once Jason Jungle's died, it's just a mad dash to try to get away. They end up cleaning 2 kills afterward on the side of Charlotte, or on the side of Empyrean.
Yeah, and that does mean this dragon is a little more worrisome. This is already a dragon as Jason Jungle gets snapped up. That is going to be the showstopper, ending his life once again in the span of about a minute and a half. That means that is a win for them. And now Disconnector gets hooked up, does flash away. That is going to be the jungle going down, so that's an immediate second dragon being approached and potentially taken by the side of World Class Empyreans.
Perfectly timed showstopper here from Speedo to make sure that that EQ does not come out from Jason Jungle. If he gets away, minimum he's able to at least walk out or make it far worse or far less worth their time to actually chase him. And he can still be up for the smite to have available. So they're going to get the dragon here. Now, the bottom side's actually collapsing. Galio's here.
Yeah, that's going to be a good catch coming out. Lost in his own thoughts. ADC goes down for his second death, but again, that's only compensation gold here because they did lose a dragon and lost their jungler as well. So just trying to get back any semblance of gold.
Again, it's really good from Empyreans. They're continuing to put on just the small amount of pressure necessary to push the opposition off each neutral objective. It's just one person either having to take a back, having to die. In this case, it's been dying for the most part on the side of Charlotte Phoenix, that they haven't been able to come out into the Dragon Pit, contest these neutral objectives as well as they wanted. Now, of course, Hero in this case was able to make the fantastic flank to get a shutdown onto the Misfortune to make sure that she gets shut out or at least gets brought down, so she's not on the map immediately to punish a little bit more. But still, really, really intelligent and forward-thinking play from the side of Empyreans. They know where they have to be on the map, what they have to do on the map, and they're controlling objectives very well. This is the team that you said, of course, has to get the early game advantage. I do agree. The Kindred sitting on 3 kills. You have, I think, the most gold in the game at the moment on your Misfortune. I don't know that it's enough quite yet, but if they continue to control these neutral objectives, it's going to be difficult to come back on the side of Charlotte Phoenix.
Yeah, you mentioned gold. We can go ahead, run down the gold advantages right now. There is a 1.9k lead in favor of World Class Empyreans. Looking at the gold differentials, I believe we see the top lane going in favor of Charlotte Phoenix, as well as only, I believe, no other lanes. So it's actually all on Renekton, and that's only a very slight lead. The rest of the lanes are in favor of World Class Empyreans, so they definitely come back from their 2 death or 2-kill deficit in the early stages of this game.
They do. Can appreciate at least that they're able to make that happen to the best of their abilities. See just a little bit of pressure back and forth. No neutral objectives, so not going to expect too much fighting to occur quite yet.
Yeah, and I mean, we didn't get it really pointed out after that dragon, but we do get the Infernal Soul, so I'm very happy about this. Infernal Soul is available to take up, so that means a potential, I believe, that is potential 16% extra AP and AD if all 4 Infernal Drakes do go to the side of Charlotte Phoenix, and that's going to be an increase of 8% for World Class Empyreans. So both these squads looking to potentially get a lot of extra damage output.
Rift Herald's going to be spawning here in just a few seconds. That could be another point of contention. But again, both teams loving the team fight as best as possible, and they're going to take it to one another to make sure it's going to happen. Of course, the interior pressure on the river is going the way of world-class Empyreans here, and they're actually going up to punish Renekton. Another case of them trying to make the play happen to push someone out before the fight actually even starts.
Yeah, but they sense it, and you see the immediate rotation and collapse. So this is a fight-to-fight enjoyed collapse, as we do see Eason trying his best, but immediately gets shut down. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, that's a full tower dive, but Speedo here to try and change it up. That's actually gonna be 2 kills, a massive misstep by the side of Charlotte Phoenix. Nets a 3-for-1 overall. Massive win by World Class Empyreans.
Yeah, again, they're just trying to make the play on the side of world-class Empyreans towards the top side of the map to punish the Renekton, but it ends up being the mid-lane play that also gets them. They try to dive to respond for the Karma, who's another big piece of the team fight here from the side of Empyreans, but they end up losing 2 additional members and disconnect their adaptation. So you feel for that at least a little bit on the side of Charlotte Phoenix. Now you're losing pressure on the top side. You're going to end up losing this tower, and they still have very high priority on the side of world-class towards this Rift Herald if they want to take it a little bit later than they needed to. Of course, the tools are still up from the opposition. I don't think they can go directly to this Rift Herald, but their wards are still there, so they're not going to have to worry too heavily about losing that one.
Yeah, and I want to draw a few notes to Charlotte Phoenix right now, because that dive looked extremely rushed. It looked like it was a desperation push. I mean, you're diving past a tier 1 that has taken next to no damage in that mid lane just for a single Karma. I don't see that as a viable move for a team that, you know, was controlling the early game to some extent, right? Do you think that they are now on the back end of possibly feeling like they are pressured to try and do something? Well, I mean, we can't even talk now as they do jump onto Special K. He does get goes gold, and that's gonna be the Lambda Spite used as well, and that might call the retreat coming here for the side of World Class Empyreans. It's only a Rift Herald though. So I think they're okay letting that fall. But again, a little bit of greed coming out of Special K almost cost him his life.
To answer your question from just a second ago, I don't think that Charlotte Phoenix feels under any pressure whatsoever to make things happen. Of course, they just pick up this Rift Herald, which was off the back of just a tempo mistake coming through on the side of World Class Empyreans. They didn't even make the play towards it. They didn't even have to force that and take it directly after they pushed 2 towers. They had control of the river. If they would have taken a little bit of delayed backs and made sure that mid and top lane were pushed out a little bit, you would have had more than enough control to come back and eventually take the fight, especially since you've gotten so much. And we see a fight around the dragon.
Oh, and we see a flash showstopper come out, but Jason Jungle has to stay alive. Speedo, though, gets a very nice shield. That's going to be the hero's entrance. Coming down, doesn't knock anyone up there. Split on the front. That's going to be a shutdown for the Aphelios, and this is the fight that Charlotte Phoenix have looked for. They get 1 kill. A very nice kill. Jason Jungle, though, almost gets sniped by the Mantra Q. Does not fall, though, so he is on the run for his life. And a 1-for-0 and an Infernal Drake picked up. Quite a bit of power given straight back, and just like you predicted, Charlotte Phoenix under no pressure whatsoever as they cleanly take an objective and a kill.
Jason Jungle, I don't know how he walked out of that one. He had a couple of different plays there. It was just an auto off of dying. The first one, Yuumi saved him. Second one, just ends up getting the shield and walking out of that fight. Importantly, though, again, we see the pattern come through. When World Class takes the time to set up a play, takes the time to bring down one member, push one member out of the fight, you're able to make a lot work. You're able to actually take fights. Now you're going to see a more 5-on-5 variant once again.
Oh, yes, you are, and that's going to be the shield goes out, depth chart to slow the fight, but the root still comes out from Aphelios. That's going to be the hook, keeping him alive, but no, the slice and dice is there, gets the kill. Easton picking up his 2nd of the game. You see a fight extending, and that's the Moonlight Vigil hitting everyone. 3-man root into a 2-man taunt is enough to finish the fight. Exhaust goes out, lost in a moment, has to flash away, but a dive under the tower seems a little bit too far. 2 kills in the back end of that fight, and that's a 3-kill overall, and that should be Baron for the Charlotte Phoenix team.
If you're on the side of world-class Empyreans, you saw earlier what the win condition is. Take someone out of the fight. That's all you need to take unfair fights entirely. That's the whole goal here. Big showstopper into the pit.
Yeah, that's going to be Speedo, though, losing his life for pretty much nothing. Unfortunately, Lost in the Moment was not there. He was trying to position properly for that. Wasn't able to pull that off. And now that is, I believe, going to be Baron for the side of Charlotte Phoenix off of the back of a beautiful display of their team composition.
Again, I just don't think it's Empyreans taking too far of a step forward. They had a couple of successes early into the game where they're realizing, okay, push someone out, kill somebody, take the advantage, then take the neutral fight. We're going to see that come through. And that's the thing, is that the top side of the fight ends up being a little bit more something else. So we see a replay of this fight coming through. They start to extend forward, but again, this right now is a 3v5. The massive Moonlight Vigil as well as the taunt just comes through, and this is kind of the epitome of what we're talking about. When you have a standard 5-on-5 fight against your opposition that has a superior 5-on-5 fight, you can't take 5-on-5s in a fair fashion. You need to pick somebody. You need to burn a cooldown. You got to do something beforehand. Otherwise, you just end up losing everything. They were doing that super well early, but recently when they're fighting around objectives, when they're trying to do something, when they're trying to make things happen, they don't seem to realize that. They can't take the pure head-to-head 5-on-5 against the composition that's so strong. I mean, they're playing the exact same game. Just don't play it. Don't play that game.
Yeah, I have to agree. And I mean, at the same time, Speedo, I don't think, has been in any of these team fights so far. So they're taking a 4v5 into a full 5-man team fight. I don't know if that's exactly what they want to do, but that is what Empyreans have opted for. We'll have to see if that comes back to bite them. As we do see a collapse coming down. In comes the showstopper, does grab Disconnector. He goes golden. Final chapter only lands onto one. Bullet time lands onto everyone, though. And an immediate 2 kills make that 3 for Lost. He is having a time of his life with the triple kill. Hook brings Hero back into the fight. A quadra kill for Lost in the Moment on a Baron up Charlotte Phoenix. And world-class Empyreans show that this game is far from over with that beautiful 4-for-1.
It's a rough go of it, but I think the important part is that this is a perfectly played team fight from the side of world-class Empyrean. You see Speedo ends up getting a massive flank into the back end of it, and what you're going to see also, so you see first off the flank, which is actually onto this, but then you don't see a repositioning here from Yuumi. I think if Yuumi waits to ultimate and throws it onto Easton, you could see a much better fight come through here. The other thing, again, Lost in the Moment. If no engage falls on him, this is a very clustered team fight where you've got Galio, you've got, you're going to have Yuumi, you're going to have eventually the Galio coming in as well, that all get stacked together and get punished so heavily from this bullet time. So you've got to get under the misfortune at any given point if you have the possibility to do so. Again, I think that there was a little bit of a misplay from Daption. If he had mispositioned or repositioned, might have had a better chance at taking that fight. But again, misfortune's the target. You get her CC'd, so there's no bullet time, you're probably going to end up winning the fight.
Yeah, and something to point out as well, the Cataclysm from J4 actually served as a double-edged sword right there. You saw Disconnector actually get stuck. He thought he could get out and just, it wasn't available to him. So, you know, one of the unfortunate parts here, we do see a Bushwhacky coming out here. That's going to be a lot of ultimates, but only onto the support. I don't know if that's the one that they want. Here comes a flank. Once again, drag back in. That's going to be Easton getting the ultimate. Big catches on both fronts. Bullet time lands only onto one, but that's enough. The zone fight is there, and that's going to be a double kill for NML. Showstopper brings the rest of the team back. Lands a sight, keeps Speedo alive, and this fight is Empyreans to lose as they wipe the fight 3-0.
Again, Empyreans now aren't letting this pure 5-on-5 come through. We're going to see Jason Jungle and Daption get chased down by City Witty. He's got a 2-level advantage over Jason Jungle. My lord.
Oh, my lord. City Witty.
Oh.
I've been so happy. There it is. Cataclysm. Oh, it stopped. The Nautilus hook. That was such a lucky series of events. Jason Jungle claiming the shutdown on his jungling counterpart, but losing out the dragon and the mid lane towers. So overall, a very large net win for the side of world-class Empyreans.
Jason Jungle difference, man. That was just absolutely insane with that last ultimate. But of course, when we talk about the fight beforehand, again, this time Empyreans, they're starting to realize, again, they're coming back to the roots of what they had. Again, earlier in the game, It's a lot easier to get solo lane pressure to, collapse around them with 2, 3, 4 members, whatever it is, then take a fight. It's a lot harder now because you're playing a lot more carefully on both sides. So what do they do instead? They throw this Nautilus with Gargoyle Stoneplate out, and they burn 2 ultimates to start the fight. Then it gets split really heavily. You see Easton move a little bit too far forward. You see Hero get a little bit too far forward. He doesn't get the taunt on him, off on a Misfortune, my apologies. And then the fight just ends up going in their fashion because they've killed the 2 bigger frontliners. Of course, Jason Jungle's still there. Disconnector ends up getting flanked on by Speedo, who once again, when he's in these fights, is doing a lot of work. But again, the important bit, Empyrean is realizing what it is that they need to do to win. So now we're back to Phoenix trying to come up with answers to this style of fighting where they're burning resources. They're not able to find the front-to-front team fight that you're looking for because that's what you're winning on the side of Charlotte Phoenix. So how do they make it work? Because now it balls in their court to actually take the game back.
Yeah, I honestly don't think I've seen a single clean Galio ultimate. I mean, I think the one time it only landed on one person, and multiple times we're seeing ultimates burn on single target priorities. I mean, like you pointed out, 2 early ultimates used on a single support. Like, I don't know why you would want to do that. And looking forward, I mean, Speedo draws so much aggro on that bottom side. It is absolutely insane. So we have to keep watching. Now that the towers are falling, though, a few more opportunities for the side of Charlotte Phoenix to look for those, to look for those favored team fights, right? It's going to be easier to bottleneck, if you will, for a Galio. So we'll have to see if they're able to do that. Wards are being taken out. Looks like Baron is going to be the next objective on the board here.
Yeah, another really important bit is, again, Aphelios is sitting on 2.5 items now. Not quite to the level of Misfortune, because Misfortune's gone double AD crit, so there's a lot of punch to the Misfortune's auto attacks. But of course, as he completes now the second Zeal item, his 3rd crit item in general, the DPS is going to be there, as well as the Conquer rune should be stacked relatively quickly in fights, so the sustain's going to be there. Again, I think the important bit here from the side of Charlotte Phoenix is they are really heavily looking to try to get on a Misfortune, because that's really the primary damage dealer. City Witty does quite a bit, but it's a Kindred versus almost a triple crit Misfortune, or at least a triple BF sword item Misfortune, and that's not something that doesn't do a ton of damage. You got to get onto that to make sure that bullet time doesn't just wreak havoc on your team, or at least separate the fight, and you want to play more close together. You want to be able to play that condensed so that the Jarvan ultimate can help set up that Galio ultimate that, again, you've said Hero hasn't been able to land a fantastic one yet this game.
Yeah, and not only that, we haven't really been keeping track. I do want to point out City Witty is sitting with 10 stacks on the Kindred mark, so he is an absolute monster to deal with right now. He's so happy to kind of frontline stay up there and poke anyone out, sitting on 2.5 items as well, with that Rune's Hurricane and Black Cleaver. So now it is the dance of the Baron here, as the Rift Scuttle had been taken already by the Empyreans. But again, this dance around the Baron could signal a heavy decisive blow, and there it is, the flash forward into the ultimate, but immediate flash out. So again, ultimates burned already. Jason Jungle caught on the wrong side of the map and immediately burned down by Lost in the Moment. Flag and Drag does not do anything as the Nautilus hook misses. That's going to be a follow-up. Speedo on the top side gets a little bit of a tag on Easton, but again, they try and force the fight and it just doesn't work for them.
They're always just like constantly over-aggressing. This time, it was a decent attempt from Jason Jungle to try to get a Cataclysm down onto Lost in a Moment, but they're not tracking the flash. They go onto the Karma and the Misfortune, they'll then flash out, and now you've wasted Cataclysm, you've lost last chapter, and you've wasted the Grand, or the Hero's Entrance, and you've got nothing left to teamfight with afterwards, and you haven't even gotten a solid engagement off. That's going to cost them this Baron right here. I don't think that you should try to contest on the side of Charlotte Phoenix. They're going to, though.
Yeah, but that's an immediate turnaround. Once again, the follow-up behind from the Galio is just not enough. Immediately burned down as Easton, immediately dropped as the Cat and the Monument, as the entire team is wiped. A delayed ace. I don't even think that's an ace, because there is J4 on the board, as he does get chunked out. Might actually get killed. The auto attacks are so strong from City Witty. But again, a last-ditch attempt to try and get the kill just doesn't work, and Baron goes over. Oh my gosh, the chase. City Witty says he wants it. He got it!
Oh my
The ace. The chase from Kindred is a win, and that is going to be Inhibitor, possibly some Nexus Towers, possibly the game here. World-class Empyrean have destroyed that team fight.
Okay, I'm a little surprised actually. So they committed, Speedo over to the Dragon, and then they don't commit into what would have been 3 members. I think if they have
Mhm.
all 5 there, they end up taking the second Nexus Tower and might be able to just close the game out. They decide to slow play it and go instead for the Infernal Soul, which again, not ideal for their particular composition, but you'll take it because again, these team fights have been massive and all encompassing throughout the majority of the game. So having this Infernal Soul is certainly going to give you a big boon. It does open still a little bit of a window here for Charlotte Phoenix, but again, the way that Empyreans have been playing this one has looked so good. It would require a pretty big mistake on their part, or just kind of a lack of focus, more specifically, because if you let a head-on-head fight start, it's going to be rough.
Here we go. A little bit of a catch does come out. Bullet time lands on multiple members, but this is a 4-man collapse against a 2-man duo. Make that 5-on-2, and that is going to be the kills going out. Rest of the team is there, but NML might be able to keep himself alive for a little bit longer. Does go golden, doesn't get taunted. Shield keeps him alive, and there's the Lambs of Spite. He is alive, but here we go. Hero's entrance knocks up 4 members. Finally, the fight that they want. And what is this? On the back of a pick, on the back of losing out on multiple major objectives, the squad of Charlotte Phoenix have found their golden egg. They are able to rise from the ashes of certain defeat and claim a late game ace.
Who did they pick off at the beginning of the fight? It was the Misfortune. You gotta get her out of the fight. It was a great engage from Hero here. He's gonna be able to get the E off, and they don't actually lose Disconnector because of Dapshin's heals, which is a great way to start things off in this fight. And then, of course, afterwards, you've got Speedo come in, you've got City Witty come in, but they don't have the damage to just burn through this front line. Jason Jungle, Easton, Hero, all very tanky, especially when you've got this cat just keeping them full health 100% of the time. All you need is a little bit of DPS behind it, and that's what Dapshin's purpose is for. He's got a lot of the AoE, he has the Runins to be able to pump out the damage. Finally, also, we see that massive Galley ultimate we've been hoping for, and I'm just happy to see that one come through here. So again, Charlotte Phoenix not going down without a fight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these guys, both squads are fighting back so hard, and I love to see this between squads, you know? You don't want to see a squad just say, okay, roll over, die, move on next game. These guys are fighting tooth and nail, and I absolutely love it. These squads are going ham. Looking down at itemization right now, I do want to talk about how we do have the Lost Chapter coming out, or not Lost Chapter, I'm very sorry, the Magi Soul Stealer from NML, which has kind of been a back and forth. He's sitting on 9 stacks right now, already has most of his items in, and we're looking at almost full build for a lot of these squads. We now have a base race on our hands. This could get very, very ugly.
Okay, we actually see a really quick movement here. They're into the mid lane. They have a few minions left, and they only really have the Karma and the thing here. Okay, Misfortune is kind of bouncing between both mid lane and bottom lane. They're just pushing back and forth. They're going to look for a fight, but this might be too slow.
Oh, it very well might. That's Cataclysm pulled as well as the final chapter, but there we go. Speedo jumps all the way in, and he dodges out on the hero's entrance.
No, it's
but look, it's ending! The base race is over! It's over!
Oh.
That's it!
Why? Oh,
we couldn't even watch.
Charlotte Phoenix, how could you do this to me, please?
Lord, that's how you end the game right there. We were watching the fight at the beginning, going on the side of World Class Empyrean side, and then we're like, oh, they used ultimates. Where's the rest of the squad? Oh, look, the game's like that is how you end the game number 1.
I didn't want to see it end like that. I'm happy that they were able to find it on the side of world-class Empyreans to be able to take the win for themselves, but that just felt so anticlimactic because back and forth we had in the game was humongous. We started off with Empyreans getting the slight advantage early, then it swung back to Charlotte Phoenix when they were the ones getting the head-to-head fight. Then Empyreans realized it, started taking unfair fights, started burning cooldowns ahead of time, and it was this back and forth of just a learning process, adapting during the game, and then into the back door. Really, I'm upset. I'm upset. That's what this boils down to.
So let's start all the way at the beginning, right? Starting back at draft phase, we were wondering about how this composition would pan out. We saw that obviously World Class Empyrean would have to, get the early game advantage. They didn't, but on the flip side, they played fantastically in terms of team fight potential and maneuvering around the fights. So starting out in the early stages, do you think this squad, their drafting was okay? And do you think it was more the ball drop on the side of Charlotte Phoenix?
I think Charlotte Phoenix had a lot of good engage tools, but again, the whole purpose of the side of Empyreans here was that misfortune. I think I said them twice. No, Charlotte Phoenix had a lot of engage fighting tools, but Empyreans, again, the important part to their composition was having this misfortune survive. Even if she gets engaged on, you still got Karma, you still have Kindred to keep her alive. So they needed ways to kill her off early on, CC her, make sure that you can deny that ultimate. I think time and time again we saw it was near impossible for that to happen. All it took was a little bit of solid positioning for Misfortune back far enough in a fight to make sure that she's able to just clean up anything. So, like I said, you think about, okay, you got Jarvan, Misfortune, or my apologies, Jarvan, you've got Galio, you've got like Yumi. You're getting onto anybody, but you have to stop the ultimate. And I think that's where they were running into is they weren't able to get that hard CC that far into a fight. So the draft was solid, but they have to also identify that as a weakness to their composition and play around that fact. Get better vision forward, I think, so they can get those flank angles to make sure Misfortune can't just stand in the back and then shoot forward.
Yeah, and I mean, taking a look at the latter stage of the game, it really seemed that World Class Empyrean, they were kind of stumbling at the beginning, and all of a sudden, about 15, 16 minutes in, they just turned it on and were team fighting very, very well, keeping out for the ultimates. I mean, do you think they'll be able to translate that into game number two, or do you think Charlotte Phoenix are going to be able to come out with something to stop this constant train?
I just like that. I think both teams are going to be able to keep their heads high from what we saw in this one. Again, it came down to it like a base race instead of being just a definitive fight either way. They adapted 2-3 times a piece during the course of this game to make sure that they knew how to play against their opponent because that's what it took to actually get an advantage over the opposition. And yeah, we saw game one go the way of world class Empyreans. But it was, I mean, you could have, if you would have told me that Charlotte Phoenix would have won this game, I wouldn't have been shocked about that. I really wouldn't have because both of them were playing very well. Both of them were making the adaptations on the fly. I'm excited to see game two because I'm sure they're going to bring out new compositions, things of that sort. But most important, they're changing their gameplay, which I think is the most important bit. I think easily either team can take this game number two as well.
All right. Well, we'll have to see if that comes true. Again, this is the rematch between these two squads. So, again, it is World Class Empyrean looking for a little bit of revenge, and Charlotte Phoenix looking to keep the dominating streak and make it a 2-0 between the head to head counts. But don't go anywhere. We will be right back with game number two between World Class Empyreans and Charlotte Phoenix. Don't go anywhere.
In the sky, gazing far into the night, I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you. In the sky, sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you, for you, for you, for you, for you, for you, for
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to this fantastic series between world-class Imperium and Charlotte Phoenix. Again, both these squads going ham in game number one, ending it in a base race to end all base races, I feel. I mean, Rebel, how are we feeling after that one? I mean, it got pretty dicey.
Excited more than anything. I want to see more team fight. I always love team fight competitions because just when seeing them bash all the time, like it's nice. You see like people playing like 4-1 where they like pull off with their 4, push with their 1, pull off with the 1, push with the 4. Like no, I want to see fighting all the time, and that's what the 5v5s love to bring us. And both these teams looked really good at it. It looked like they were back and forth, and I'm happy to see really contested fighting as we get into this draft.
All right, yeah, we should be underway here very shortly, but I do want to kind of go over. We had talked about it and touched on it briefly. Is the compositions were pretty much tried and true. We already said that they were fairly even in their own respect. Do you expect both sides to go for the same type of team fight coordination, or do you think either side will try and change things up? Because again, it was very close, but still, there were minute differences that we saw that could change with a different draft.
I gotta be honest, I wasn't in love with either mid laner in this game. Not to say that I don't like them. In fact, I'm actually saying quite the opposite. They're both intensely good carries when they're on it. I know specifically, I think Hero is like a really amazing LeBlanc player. Like, why not play LeBlanc? Why not supplement a little bit of pick off, a little bit of AoE damage with that Jarvan instead of something else? You have the Gallia, which fits really well with the composition. But I want to see the LeBlanc. I want to see the ability to solo play. Same with Rovex on the opposite side. These are guys with intense like, mechanical talent, and I want to see that come out from these two because I know that they've got a lot more than Karma Galio out of the mid lane. That's not an exciting matchup. That's not a matchup you can pop off in. The best you can do is support your team, do to the best of your possibles. But I want to see these two mid laners take the reins themselves in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we do get into the pick ban phase, we see the Fiora still banned away, but obviously a changeup. Charlotte Phoenix say, okay, the set was a major problem in game number one. Let's keep that one off the board.
Not to mention, they're still banning away the Syndra from Rovex, even on the blue side, instead of taking that first overall. So that means, again, like they're just terrified of having to take it first overall compared to something else. Again, no Varus ban coming out here from the side of World Class either. So the Fiora, the Senna, both followed through from the previous game. But again, Varus still on the board potentially for Charlotte Phoenix to grab or to give up to the side of World Class here, which is important. Could come through for that third ban, but again, that's an expectation for Red side. That's not a guarantee.
Yeah, that is very much true, and we'll have to see what they change up in their ban phase here. And I want to see what they decide, because again, the last time that we saw it, it was the set first pick for World Class Imperium, and the Varus, there it is, the ban that you were looking for. Graves taken away as well, so a lot of high priority picks still taken off the table. Now we get to see Charlotte Phoenix and what they decide to prioritize in this early draft phase.
Trundle was taken out of the second phase, I believe, last time compared to something. No, I think it was actually banned out from the side of World Class last time. Because they're on Reft side, they had to ban out the Varus. They lost one of theirs, end up giving the Trundle over to the opposition. So now you're not looking at something like the Jarvan, like the Sejuani, that's a little bit easier to beat as the Trundle. The Kindred, on the other hand, has been a very consistent counterpick to the Trundle. Its range advantage, the ability to slow things along those lines, and even its ability to just trade with the Trundle early on because of the zoning you can have with your E, with your W, and the ability to clear that pillar with your Q, all very pivotal to Kindred's success up against the Trundle. Late game also, damage is really high from the Kindred, ultimate heavy use. Without a massive tank in the way, the Trundle starts to kind of lose that viability.
Yeah, and it looks like World Class Imperium are saying, you know what, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Kindred and Karma locked in, so that's going to be the battery that we see out of the jungle mid, most likely, and just a little bit of the same old for them. However, again, dealing with the Trundle is a little different than dealing with the J4. We'll have to see what Charlotte Phoenix decide to place with it, and they say, okay, you got the Karma, we'll go with the Yuumi again.
Yeah, I'm a little bit curious if they're utilizing the Karma pick as a way to dissuade any aggressive mid laners, because again, Karma can, defend and be kind of like a super soaker to make sure that there is nothing, not a super soaker, I don't know why I said that. Something that soaks a lot of pressure in the mid lane, preventing something from snowballing super far ahead.
A sponge, I think, is what you're looking for.
I said super soaker, I meant sponge, the exact opposite. Yeah, that's the idea. I like the Rumble a little bit better. That should be the mid lane. They can still flex it to the top side. But the Rumble into the Karma means you've got a lot of wave clear to work with, and you can team fight so well. It's like a Galio, but it's a lot more damage oriented. I far prefer that to the previous pick.
Yeah, that is going to be the Rumble locked in, so a lot of equalizers to slow down the competition, allow maybe Trundle to get up a little bit closer. world-class Empyrean, though, possibly locking in this Ezreal, and they do. So locking in that ADC is going to allow for a staggered ban phase here. So it looks like the ADCs will be targeted once again by world-class Empyrean.
Getting their hands on the Ezreal, if they pair it with the Karma, it's going to be a pretty rough laning phase in terms of poke damage, especially with the Yuumi on the other side. The Zoomies is helpful to get that health bar up one time. When you've got 3-4 Qs coming through from Ezreal, 2-3 Qs coming through from Karma in between that cooldown, a little bit rough to deal with. So I'm curious what they're going to pair with this Yuumi to make sure that they still have the advantage. And again, Karma can still be flexed, so if they take something kind of softer, a little bit more protective, they can take, something aggressive. That's why you're seeing the Nautilus get banned out. Wouldn't be shocked to see like the Thresh get banned out either, to make sure that that's not going to be on the table.
Yeah, and obviously last time around we did see Charlotte Phoenix ban away 2 mid laners, I think. Or no, it was actually flipped. World class Imperium actually banned away 2 mid laners, so obviously since it seems Charlotte Phoenix are assuming that's a Karma mid, they opt for the support, and actually no, they say, okay, we know you can flex, we'll look at the LeBlanc ban.
Yeah. Able to see that one come through, just making sure that there is no flexibility for the Karma, or at least pinching both of the pools, making sure if it is the mid Karma that you're not going to get your hands on the Nautilus, which is really good into the likes of the Yuumi and whatever partner it is, or if they throw the Karma into the bottom lane, that you're going to have the LeBlanc's ability to flex into the Rumble, make sure you don't take a lot of the damage that comes through there. Aatrox going to come through safe, blind pick, not perfect. Again, I think Renekton's a little bit better at that job, but the late game team fighting from Aatrox is far superior. They're going to respond with Renekton actually to make sure they have that in the lane phase. Now that is interesting.
Yeah, a Corki picked up. It was banned away in game number 1. So that is going to be Hero running something a little more aggressive, like you were hoping, a little bit more carry potential there on that side. So actually, I think this is okay. Is that a Corki ADC actually? Hero.
Now you're reaching the level that I just got to, because I'm like, wait a minute, is it Rumble or is it Corki bottom lane? The Corki would make actually a decent amount of sense. They pick with the Lucian also, which can go into either Renekton or into the Rumble or the Corki, whatever you want to throw into the mid lane. This is a really very strange draft from both sides, because there's quite a bit of flexibility that we're not going to get to see until they lock it in game. But my lord, that Lucian pick I'm in love with, just because it counters so much what Charlotte Phoenix just took in the first round, or took across the draft.
What if that's a Renekton bottom lane? Because I think in about 3 or 4 patches ago, we did see the Renekton Yuumi come out, and people were talking about it a little bit.
The Renekton Yuumi come out just a little bit. Yeah, see, my problem with that is I'm seeing Karma Ezreal. I'm like, who is Renekton going to be able to get on to? Who is he stunning in this lane?
Yeah.
He's just going to have to hope that Yumi's able to get the ultimate of the Q off to be able to lock down and make sure things happen. I think Corki makes the most sense, but again, the Rumble doesn't look great into the Lucian, and the Aatrox lane doesn't really go well for him all that often. So I think it's a tough lane assignment game that Charlotte Phoenix is playing here.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, these compositions are definitely being a little bit dicey here, and reaching into the pockets and really trying to draw out as much strength as they can, or maybe just test the waters a little bit more, right? Trying out these odds and end picks. That is a Corki mid, so that is going to be the Rumble in the bottom lane. So Yuumi Rumble rounding out that bottom lane for Disconnector and Daption, and that's going to be a Renekton Aatrox in the top side.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving the Lucian into the Corki pick. I like the Lucian into pretty much any of these matchups, but this is my favorite. I remember back to, I think it was an MSI matchup where I was witnessing, it was like Westdoor as he was like starting to leave. I think it was like 2017 Westdoor, where he's kind of like 1 foot out the door ready to leave. And he built a Bramble Vest first item into Corki because of just how horrible this matchup is for the Corki into the Lucian. That's how bad you can stomp this as the Lucian. So it is a very good lane matchup at minimum to be able to control the wave. So I don't think it's going to get to that level by any standard. I think there's still some accessibility for Corki to get in, but certainly that's the level that the Lucian can play to and make sure that things happen in the laning phase. It is the Rumble in the bottom lanes too. Yeah.
And, we were wondering if they were going to change things up coming into game number 2, and I think, honestly, this is a fairly large change up. We went from, pretty much front-to-back team fight with both squads to more skirmish heavy. We're seeing triple ADC coming out on the side of world-class Imperium. On the flip side, we're seeing very heavy skirmish abilities coming out. The Trundle Chase is very good. The Equalizer is able to zone people out. Corki as well with a little bit of poke and chase. Like, these compositions are drastically different, in my opinion, from game number 1.
Yeah, neither one of them have that kind of air of pure 5-on-5 team fight about them like we did in the last game. There isn't really great engage on either side. You've got decent team fighting from like, you throw in like the Yumi on top of everybody. That's not bad team fighting. Rumble's got a good ultimate for team fighting. That's not bad. The other side's got 3 ADCs. You're going to tear through basically anybody if you get the space for it. And Aatrox Karma going to buy you a little bit of that space. But neither one of them is really going to have this. I doubt highly we're going to get just a standard 5-on-5 at any point because, again, it's tough to find that with this composition, especially with the Trundle pillar coming through. I think that's going to be the pivotal ability in this one because you've got mobility on Kindred, Lucian, and Ezreal, but one solid pillar to deny the additional, especially if the flash is down. If any of the mobility is gone from these ADCs, they're out of the fight, and you lose a large chunk of the help that you're going to get trying to get through this team. Renekton's going to be huge, Trundle's going to be huge, Yumi's going to be throwing through heals, so you need all the damage you can get on the side of Empyreans here, otherwise you might have an issue breaking through this team.
Yeah, and as we wind down just a few more seconds until we go to a very short break, I do want to get your final thoughts on this. Do you see one team having an easier time throughout this game than the other? Are both of them going to be dancing on hot coals for the entirety of this game?
I think early game is slightly, like you got Renekton. The other thing is like the Ezreal Karma, I think, is flopped, and it's going to be kind of the advantageous lane because you're playing into Rumble. You've got the Yumi, who is super strong early. So again, bot side control should go the way of Empyreans, and their composition's harder to play late yet again. They were able to make it work last game. I think they can make it work as long as their ADCs stay with the curve of power, but you still have a lot to work with. Again, you've got high mobility ADCs, but they're very squishy. It's not an easy composition to play, so it's up to them to make it work. Again, I usually favor compositions that are a little bit easier to play, so I'd like to say that hero on the Corki probably going to end up being the hero for his team in this.
All right, well, we'll definitely have to see, but before we do throw it into a very quick commercial break, I do want to talk about one of our fantastic sponsors, Kono. If you're looking to take your game to the next level, it all starts with your peripherals. From keyboards to keycaps, mice, and more, our friends at Kono have got you covered. Kono works with the world's best designers, inventors, and makers to bring you some of the best gaming peripherals around. Kono have been huge supporters of us here at Upsurge and have made generous contributions to our prize pools. So if you're in the market for a new keyboard, you can definitely check out the Hexgears X1 RGB low-profile Bluetooth mechanical keyboard. You can use the discount code UpsurgeGG for 7% off your first order. For more information, head over to their store at kono.store to check out all they have to offer. Now, with that, we will be going to a very short break to make sure we can bring you the best quality here at the Upsurge Premier League Twitch stream. But don't go anywhere. We will be right back with game number 2 between world-class Imperium and excuse me, Charlotte Phoenix. Don't go anywhere.
Ain't no love like a real love, but it goes so fast. All tied up like a captive. I'm on to you. Used to pay to my life, standing on rainbows, playing it cool. I haven't felt this in ages, and I've no more patience. So won't you please? You're making me stronger, making me stronger. Stay a bit longer. You're making me stronger, making me stronger. Stay a bit longer. You're making me stronger, making me stronger. Stay a bit longer. You're making me stronger, making me stronger. You're stronger.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to game number 2 between these two amazing squads. As they head out onto the Rift, we have two fairly different compositions coming out here, so I'm very excited to see what these two teams can do. And looking at the champion skins, I love it. We have some beautiful prestige skins, as you might want to take a look. I think that's Lucian. That's the which one's that, Rebel?
Oh man, I can't remember. I actually, is it Pulsefire? Is it Pulsefire Lucian Prestige?
I think that's Pulsefire Prestige Edition. So the big golden cape coming out for the man in the mid lane. And ML, game number 1, he was definitely on point, keeping his team alive. But this time, it's going to be pretty much a full frontal assault coming out.
Yeah, as confirmed by our producer, the Prestige Pulsefire Lucian. I love that cape. That cape looks so nice. I will like that cape is so hot to look at. Yeah, like you said, yeah, I want Rovex to be doing a lot of work in the mid lane. I like that both the mid laners have opted for more damage to take a little bit more of the load for their team because again, these are talented players. I don't like to see anybody really playing something that's kind of passive or waiting. This ward here is going to spot out the start for Jason Jungle. Once again, I hope he doesn't get picked on like we saw last game in City Witties on the Kindred once again. So it could be not fun for him to start this one as well.
Mm-hmm. Last time it was also, I feel J4, he was running into Kindred at very low HP.
Yeah.
So there's a possibility that this time, because it's a Trundle, he sustains very well with his Q. I assume we're not going to see Kindred looking for it. So yeah, you actually see a buff to buff start for City Witty, not going for that invade, instead opting just like, okay, you know what? I'm not dealing with the Trundle. We're good.
Yeah, actually, both of them going for the buff to buff start, and usually that's more indicative of a full clear style of play, unless they want to get some cheesy gank off towards it. Trundle typically is the more impactful with that sort of thing because of the pillar that can come through. So we'll see. It could also be challenges. Like I said, I would expect Trundle to throw the pillar down somewhere. Aatrox and Lucian are the two primary targets. He started towards this top side as opposed to anywhere else. But of course, it's not absolutely guaranteed. And again, I would expect more of a full clear style from both of these guys because they went buff to buff instead of anything else.
Yeah, I would also agree. We already see some pressure going down from the squad. And I mean, both these guys are definitely trying to put the moves on, as we do see a little bit of a gank towards that top side. Jason Jungle is looking to try and get it. There it is. That's the pillar as well. And Speedo now has to run the opposite way. He's actually just taking the dance. He's actually just straight up 1v1ing, and Jason Jungle is just letting it happen. That's such an unfortunate series of events, but there we go. A flashback towards the river. It looks like that's going to be his death. There it is. The chomp comes down, and Speedo loses his life. Jungle right now coming online. Remember, Jason has no flash, so City might want to keep chasing. Doesn't chase too far into the jungle though, so that is going to be first blood at only about 3 minutes and 15 seconds for the side of Charlotte Phoenix.
The important bit of this entire play is that, again, when you're playing the Trundle and you get access to the pillar early on in the game, you got to use it. That pillar is super detrimental to any laner that doesn't have just a ton of mobility to work with. And you see him throw it behind the Aatrox eventually. And Aatrox, you can't really E through it because he didn't have it available. He was using it in the 1v1. You can't walk around it because it's going to slow him down and he's going to die. And his flash wasn't enough to get him anywhere except into the face of Trundle. So best case scenario, you have to take a bunch of autos from the Trundle and you're never going to be able to duel back because of the AD drain. Now, what I am surprised about was I was a little curious why Speedo wasn't trying to make the flash happen over the wall. And I realized he didn't have vision of Jason Jungle that whole time. Jason Jungle could have been in the tri-brush waiting for him, waiting over the wall for him, going around the opposite side, and he had no clue where to go. So Speedo just kind of stood his ground and played against Easton, who had the level advantage, but eventually Jason Jungle committed around the top side, forced him away from the wall so that flash can be used properly. So really, really well played from Jason Jungle during that process to make sure the kill goes over.
Ooh, and a very close fight on the top lane sees both of the top laners get fairly low, and I think that's kind of a small microcosm of what's been going on even in this entire group stage. I mean, both these squads, yes, they're 2-1 and 1-2, but both of them are definitely battling to keep their hopes alive. You know, this is considered the group of life, if you will, in the UPL right now. These guys, you know, anyone can make it out. But that also means anyone can really lose that. You know, distancing yourself from everyone else is a very high priority as we're already into the second half of the split.
Yeah, and you think about it, like game one went to the side of Empyreans, even though, you know, Charlotte Phoenix, they beat them in the first rotation. They're the ones that beat Mirage. Like, they were looking like favorites coming out of week number 2. I think that was the week that they had beaten Mirage. And yet here they are. They're on the brink of losing. They're only one game out from losing. And it counts, you know, this game's pretty early on. But as the group of life, we're saying every single one of these games, everyone counts. You cannot be sleeping and be caught sleeping, because one series loss here, one series loss there takes you from number 1 in the group is Charlotte Phoenix down to eventually, like, you know, 2-2, 2-3, eventually might be the case. And you might just fall out, even though you've got the team to make that competition happen. And you can't sleep on anyone in the group. Again, Mirage looking like a top competitor. Life Support's roster is surprisingly good, and you can get caught out any single week. And World Class is already showing how good they can be, taking game number 1 up against what should have been potentially a superior opponent with at least a better record who'd already beaten them.
Yeah, during that time as well, we did see the Dragon be taken away by City Witty, so already the early game looking very clean. That was a Mountain Drake, so pretty much a Mirror Dragon opening. That is going to be a Cloud Drake as well, once again. So again, we have the opportunity to have another Infernal Soul or an Ocean Soul come out to benefit both squads.
Importantly, you still think about, like, where can the jungle pressure come from, or at least where can you apply jungle pressure. City Witty has a winning mid lane and a winning bottom lane for all intents and purposes, because you got basically double, like, ranged aggressive into a Rumble and a Yuumi lane, which is difficult to get any pressure in. And then, of course, Lucian has quite a bit of wave clear to work with, a lot more base damage to work with than Corki. So the Kindred feels comfortable pretty much walking into bottom side river anytime he wants. Even if the Trundle's going to show up, you should still have priority in both the lanes to make that response happen. So bottom side control is almost definitely going the way of Empyreans throughout the entire, or at least through most of the early game.
Yeah, and I mean, you already see an invade here. Might get it. No, he does not. So Jason Jungle able to claim his red. But I want to talk about that. You were talking about the winning lanes, and that just goes to show, if you take a look at some of the vision around the map, you see a board by the by Trundle's blue buff right now, as well as in the river. So I mean, this Empyrean squad has definitely been pushing the tempo in terms of global vision.
You think about the way that Empyreans have been kind of drafting their composition World Class. Neither game did they have this particularly amazing early game, this particularly amazing, like, lane versus lane matchup at any given point. But what they have been doing really well is attacking the jungle position. Jason Jungle is no slouch in that jungle position. Of course, Jason Jungle Diff is the fantastic meme that we all know and love. But City Witty's been able to take it to him very consistently because he's always got the pressure there. He's always making the first play in the jungle, ensuring that he's taking advantage. In game 1, of course, it was like the double buff, the double scuttle, or the triple buff, the double scuttle. In this one, it's a lot more subtle, but it is that creep of vision. It's a little bit of stuff, pushing him out of his jungle on that red buff, making those things happen to ensure that he actually has the advantage. He has the pressure, or at least he's forcing pressure off the side of Charlotte Phoenix, which is a very, again, it's kind of it's a nuance, and it doesn't feel like a lot of effect. But City Witty taking the jungle matchup, little trades like that, little steals like this here and there make a massive difference in the game.
Yeah, not only that, you see everyone walking over for this. Blue buff goes over in favor of City Witty. We do see the fight come out. Yuumi attached to Hero coming in to try and make the play. He does have the package available, so this is why you see the roam. There it is. Hop all the way in. Does catch Special K. Sleeping a little bit right there, but the rest of the squad can walk out. Pillar comes down. Equalizer as well. So a big attempt at a play does whiff ever so slightly. But again, Team Coordination on the point, but here we go. Nice little root comes out. Jason Jungle does drop the subjugation, but it's not going to be enough. Flash out from Jason. Flash forward as well on the NML, and that's going to be Dabchin taking the kill. Final chapter comes out. Very big Mantra Q, knocking everyone. Lands with Spite, keeping them all alive. Arcane Barrage comes out with nothing to show for it. And low health bars are all that are left for the side of Charlotte Phoenix as they claim a single kill for themselves.
We're going to see. Oh, Flash W!
Oh, that is it. That's going to be the kill. Speedo getting 2 kills back for his team. Disconnector might go down as well. And in the extended trade, that is going to be a 3-for-1 in favor of world-class Empyreans. So a very nice team fight coordination coming out of Charlotte Phoenix. But again, the kills and gold go in favor of world-class Empyrean.
As Charlotte Phoenix, it looked so good to start with there. They're able to punish a good play from Lucian. You're actually going to see at the beginning of this one, the play coming through. This is actually Lucian, but the Flash W came in from Speedo, gets the double knockup, and then Disconnector just ended up walking in the wrong position. Instead of running away from the tower, just has to go underneath, and he's going to buy space for the Kindred. But again, importantly, there's just too far up. You cannot be that far up if you're on the side of Charlotte Phoenix. They get punished. It was just a great little play coming through from Speedo, but you have to give respect where respect is due. Don't keep pushing forward, even if you've got the Yumi on yourself. Take your kill, walk away, because the Lucian ended up getting punished in a very quick succession. I love the way that they punished the Lucian, using the E to reposition his ultimate, and then not having the mobility to get away from the Rumble. That was the big portion of the fight. Disconnector walking away. I think it was actually Yumi that got it, unfortunately. But still, that's the play you want to see in the early game from the side of Charlotte Phoenix.
Yeah, good aggression, proactive moves coming out here. And again, I think it was absolutely a fantastic attempt at shutting down that mid lane. You know, you had Special K kind of zoned off. So, you know, the plays are there. And I think that speaks volumes to how this series has, you know, kind of turned out. You're always just a little bit away from that all victory ultimate from that Wombo combo. It's the very small things that you got to clean up if you want to win a game.
Controls here. Yeah, they're getting back control on the bottom side of the river. Again, importantly, usually the bottom side pressure is going to go the way of Empyreans because of the way that they've got their lane set up. But because they were able to push Lucian out and force a back here, the wave was shoved up out of mid lane, and they have control here. They're actually going for it now.
Yeah, that's going to be the Dragon going in favor of this Phoenix squad. But there we go. NML caught on the wrong side of the map. He might go very low. True Shot Barrage does take the kill. That's going to be a 1-for-1 trade so far. City Woody on the flat, on the other side is there, but on the top side we do see a kill possibly going over. Trade 1-for-1 as the fight continues on the bottom side of the map. That's going to be it. Arcane Missile taking that kill. Lost in a moment is able to claim his life. But now City Woody is caught between a pillar and a hard place. He is going to walk away though with the help of his support.
Pillar didn't quite separate the Kindred away from the Karma, which I think was the big thing. They didn't want to end up getting rooted up there, but plays across the map. Good Dragon coming through from the side of Charlotte Phoenix. It took 4 members getting priority there. I do think potentially the usage of the Rumble ultimate. Okay, wait, there's a TP here. They could be looking for a play into City Witty.
Yeah, they know that City Witty is there. Pillar finally cuts him off. He's able to jump all the way over, but has lands with Spite. No flash, though, so this is just delaying the inevitable. Doesn't make it over the wall with that last Q, so he falls. Getting a bit greedy there, trying to go for the red.
Caught with his hand in the cookie jar just a little bit. Not expecting the TP to come through from the side of Easton. Again, getting that one was rather nice. We do see actually Easton staying in the mid lane. You have the Corki on the bottom side taking the play, and the bottom lane is rotating up here. So this is Disconnector helping out Jason Jungle alongside Dapshin take this Rift Herald. Again, you actually do have the Equalizer backup, so this is an important team fighting tool. And with Easton in the mid lane, you can actually put quite a bit of pressure onto the Lucian who'd already died. And I think that lane setup is actually what they're looking for to get priority on the Rift Herald here. Now, you do see a collapse coming through from Empyreans, but I don't think they know for a fact it was going on until right there. So Jason Jungle just has to walk out.
Yeah, but we do see a fight on 2 fronts here. Special K getting jumped on by the Renekton, burns the flash there. That is going to be the Predator being dropped as well with the Equalizer. So no kills going through for either side.
A little bit optimistic with that Equalizer usage from Disconnector, but I do really like the fact that, again, they're starting to utilize more than one member. They're pulling members, they're switching lane assignments to make sure that they can get out on the map and they can contest these neutral objectives. Last game from the side of Charlotte Phoenix, we didn't really see that. They just consistently rolled over when they were giving up 1 person, 2 people, and in this case, they're making sure that doesn't happen by not taking the disadvantageous plays. Ooh!
We didn't even get a chance to talk. That was how quick the kill came out. Very nice tower dive there. Claims that kill. Final chapter used in the top lane. And again, that is going to be a very nice kill from Charlotte Phoenix to claim that tower dive kill.
Don't quite finish up the tower, which I think is the most unfortunate part, but it's nice that they get the kill onto Hero, so the Corki is going to pick up a little bit of gold over his lane advantage. This mid lane's kind of been shut down. They both have 2 deaths, so you're sitting on like a 4 death combination mid lane, and just the 1 kill onto the Corki means he might get a little bit further into this one. Has completed the Muramana starting into the Trinity Force, but yeah, it's been mostly focused on side lanes, bottom lane, things of that sort between the 2 teams. The mid laners have had less effect because they're kind of getting focused down in this game, which is unfortunate, but quite a bit of gold just got flooded in. The kill of the Karma, as well as 4 turret plates in the mid lane here, going the way of Phoenix or Charlotte Phoenix.
Yeah, and for what feels like the first time for them, they're a little bit more in control of this early game. They're able to claim the Rift Herald for themselves. They're able to claim one of the dragons, set it off, and, you know, really start pushing a few more advantages. This time around, no Infernal Soul on the board. Instead, it's going to be the Ocean Soul, so a little bit more staying power for whoever is able to claim that 4th dragon.
And slowly, as the game continues to kind of evolve, right now Easton's at what is effectively the highest point of his power spike, in that he has the Black Cleaver and the Executioner's Calling completed into the Aatrox, who has not yet completed the Black Cleaver. So the side lane pressure is going to be the Black Cleaver actually just finished. And in fact, you have City Witty coming up here. If the TP is expended, it's not going to be. He's just going to push the wave out from this tower, make sure that's not going to get pushed in by the Renekton. But of course, again, with this Renekton getting powerful, with Jason Jungle picking up some gold early on, you have time to work with in this mid game because your front line is rather fed. If you get a little bit of armor onto these members, it's not easy for triple ADC Aatrox to burn through it that quickly. So now what you've got is like you've more time to get more damage out with the Rumble, with the Corki, who don't have as much damage to start with as maybe the ADCs might in this particular case. So I do really enjoy the fact that they got a lot of gold, or at least a lot of the early game gold, onto the tankier members, because that buys them a lot more time and a lot more control of the map. You've already expressed how it feels like they're controlling the map a lot better than last game especially.
Yeah, that is also going to be the package going out. Hero jumping in, trying to make that play, but it's just a little zoning technique. They claim the first tower of the game and walk back. We do see a teleport, though, from the Aatrox moving into that bottom lane, so that's going to be a pincer maneuver, I think, coming in. Lucian still trying to lay down some damage, not moving just yet. Flash, or not Flash, that is going to be the equalizer, but Lost in the Moment is now lost in the gray screen. He falls to his death, didn't have the flash up just in time. Rest of the squad is moving around, and that is going to be a single kill for the squad. The Scryer's plant was hit, so they know that Lucian and Aatrox are on the bottom side. Speedo and ML are going to try and make a 2-man play. Disconnector gets chunked out, and unfortunately, Dabchin gets cut off. He tried to jump out and gets zoned out. That's going to be the kill. Speedo claiming one for himself, and Aatrox, the World Ender himself, is able to claim a second. This is disastrous for Charlotte Phoenix. They are running for the hills right now. Speedo gets flashed on, and he is going to fall to Hero. That's going to be the Lancer Sight, forcing Easton out of this fight as well. Special K dancing forward. That's going to be the Mantred Q claiming that one. Shutdown going over to City Witty, and what looked to be a fantastic pick turns into their demise. Charlotte Phoenix lose the 3rd dragon of the game.
Nice TP coming through from the side of Speedo to flank around the edge right there. It is difficult to kill the Aatrox. He's got the 30% cooldown reduction with the completed Caulfield's Warhammer alongside the Black Cleaver. And you saw, without the Executioners, when his ultimate's up, he just heals for so much. And Easton was using, he was kind of on the top side of the fight, making sure nobody else would be able to enter. Disconnect, guns down Rovex.
That was interesting. He was sitting there, didn't auto attack any of the Raptors, and then let it hit him multiple times. I think he lost about 200 health from the entirety of the Raptor camp right there. I'm not sure what he was doing, but a little bit of gold, I guess, back into Disconnector's pocket right there. So at the end of the day, even gold all the way around. But here we go. Teleports coming out. Equalizers standing on top. Speedo just doesn't care. He is now getting aggressed on, though. Rest of his team is not there to help him out. He falls. He tried to make the play for his squad, but no one else was there, and that's gonna mean a shutdown as well there. I think that was a 150 gold shutdown going over to Disconnector's pocket once again.
Fantastic, like, little collapse there coming through from the side of Charlotte Phoenix. They were ready to go with the ultimates. They locked down the Aatrox on top of the Equalizer. And yeah, it doesn't do a lot of damage. He sustained through quite a bit. Once the Renekton shows up, though, that Grievous Wounds is applied. He can't heal through anything anymore, and they bring him down. And no one's really there to challenge. They use quite a bit, but there's not much that they can do under the tower, especially since the Kindred ultimate was down. So there's no way to contest for that. Charlotte Phoenix take fantastic advantage of that rotation coming through. I don't know how they've gotten these lanes to be exactly where they want them to be right now in terms of assignments, but my lord, it's working so much better than we saw very early into the game. And you're seeing them play with a lot more vigor than we saw in game number 1 even, where they're taking fights that are advantageous, they're making proactive teleports, they're doing all the right things that are, it's kind of the little stuff that you missed from game number 1 from the side of Charlotte Phoenix. And I really like the way that this is boding for them. Again, their front lines picked up quite a bit of armor, a little bit of sustainability comes up next, and the damage is starting to flood in here. The Leandries is now completed for your Rumble. You've the Trinity Force almost completed here for the Corki, and that's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, these guys have been playing their hearts out so far. Speedo getting chunked out once again and gets jumped on and immediately killed.
Ooh.
Do not overextend against the power of the Phoenix squad. Speedo, the man that they were trying to get a little bit ahead, now loses his life, and that's going to be Rift Herald in favor of Charlotte Phoenix.
I like the fact that they've drafted a composition here where their pillar is actually rather effective. Can they get the Rift Herald? No, I thought they got it at the end. It was just a second too late. I think they needed a couple more auto attacks. That feels so bad for them.
Yumi throwing out the unfortunate crying emotes, showing the pain inside. Just almost had it.
Yeah, like I said, it despawns at 1955. I think 5 seconds before the
yeah,
mark. They
so
had it down to less than 500 health. I know that had come through, and I was up, so I do feel quite bad that they weren't able to get that one. But still, they're pressing pretty well. I was talking about it just before that had started up. The pillar and all the soft CC that comes through from this team feels a lot better when you've got the Equalizer to throw on top of it, when you've got the Renekton to climb in. And also at the moment, actually loses quite a bit of health bar there.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of a decent trade back and forth. Keep in mind, both these squads are very heavily focused, but here we go. Jason Jungle says, no, I want to fight. Subjugation goes down, burning the flash from Lost in the Moment.
And yes, you could say his flash was lost in just a moment. Once the pillar went down, there's nothing left for him. I mean, you got a phase rush jungle running at you, and you got the pillar slow coming through. You're in a panic mode right there, no matter what champion you are. So making sure that he's going to take full advantage of that one. And that's kind of what I wanted to see from Jason Jungle earlier in the game. But again, burning the flash from Ezreal, when you got something like the Equalizer and you have such a long cooldown on the Arcane Shift, that's big. That's a really big cooldown to burn. Any flashes they get at all with this Equalizer up is big money in the bank.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, these squads are battling back and forth, and it looks like Charlotte Phoenix have an inside track towards this top lane tower. True Shot Barrage able to clear out the remaining 4 minions, so nothing going to happen anymore on the top side. So 3 towers to 1 gold advantage, 1.6k in favor of Charlotte Phoenix. So again, moving into this mid to late game, looks like Charlotte Phoenix are in a very good spot to continue pushing their advantages.
Speedo slowly has been pushing up the bottom side of the map, and I think this is important because if you look at that bottom quadrant, it's a lot of vision here for the side of Empyreans, which is huge because they're going for the dragon play. They took the first Ocean Drake off the back of that previous play that was a bit of an extension from Charlotte Phoenix. If they get this one, they're taking it to Soul Point. And yeah, I don't know that they win any given team fight. I don't know if they win late or anything like that. But having an Ocean Soul in your back pocket or forcing a fight is nice. Flash from Ezra. Oh, immediately!
Ooh, that is a good trade. A mid laner for a mid laner. Both ADCs fall, and that was very aggressive from Hero. Here we go, Speedo getting caught out a little bit here as well. Doesn't pop the ultimate just yet, but the chain were able to bring him back. True Shot Barrage lands, actually snipes Disconnector, so he has to burn the heal. And now Charlotte Phoenix are on the wrong side of the map. Dragon is available, and health bars are very much benefiting the side of world-class Empyrean. We now see the sneak on through the other side. Wards are down. That's going to be Dragon, third Dragon for the Empyrean squad, and this is going to be the fight breaking out right now. Subjugation goes down, lands this fight, keeping everyone healthy. And this is going to be a battle of the burst damage. And there it is, the slam from Speedo, marking this fight. And immediately, Phoenix has to run for the hills. 2 easy kills on the back of that dragon play.
So Charlotte Phoenix start this fight off in a really strange way in that they burn a lot of ultimates and don't really get much. It ends up being a 1-for-1 trade for Hero. I think Daption was a little off on the timing to be able to switch on to Daption to give him the heal because Hero was just blind aggression into the jungle. Doesn't matter who's there. He just wants the Lucian because I think he was expecting the Yuumi heal to come through. Once all of it's been burnt, the equalizer especially to me is the big cooldown. Once that's gone, you don't really have the pressure to win consistent damage fights against so many ADCs. It doesn't matter that you burnt the Lucian. You still have Ezreal, you still have Aatrox, and you still have Kindred. Of course, Aatrox is not ADC, but not the point. Consistent damage is going to be there no matter what, especially if Speedo has a lot of the cooldown reduction, has a lot of healing that he has in the kit initially, and that's what you're seeing so far as the fights continue. You got to have the equalizer to win team fights. Otherwise, it's a lot harder for the side of Charlotte Phoenix to win anything. And that one, they burnt it really early, didn't get much, and they were trying to over-aggress, trying to get to the Ocean Drake and not force Ocean Soul.
Yeah, now we see a little bit of a duel on the bottom side. Both ultimates burned. That is going to be ultimates down for Renekton and Aatrox for any upcoming fights. And just, a little bit of salutations to your laning partner as they continue to pressure on this bottom side.
They do.
Ooh,
Easton.
there it is.
Oh, nice little takeaway there. Nice little takeaway right there.
My 105 gold, not yours.
My grump. Not gonna give that one up, of course. I like the control coming here for the Baron buff. This is really, really imperative from the side of Charlotte Phoenix. Their Baron is relatively slow. It's not super slow. Like the Trundle's not terrible at taking it because he has the consistent damage, the W, the Q, things of that sort. Renekton's the same path. The Corgi's gonna do quite a bit of damage to it. He's a consistent damage dealer. You're talking about a Kindred, Lucian, Ezreal, Aatrox. Like this Baron damage is high. You need to have control. Special K got pillared off right there.
Yeah, Final Chapter actually goes out, burns the Flash, Special K, making sure to keep himself alive in the face of this global objective on the map. So very nice play, burning only an ultimate for a Flash.
Big start to it because, again, burning a Flash is important because the equalizer means it's basically a death sentence now, especially onto the Karma because that's a lot of the ability to continue team fighting here for the ADCs. They don't have a lot of just innate ability to fight without HP regen, and only the Blade of the Rune King is finished so far in that regard. So the Karma's what's shielding everybody, giving everybody that Ardent Sensor buff, helping out all these ADCs do enough damage to win the team fights. But if that Karma's dead, it's a lot harder for the consistent fighting to come through because all it takes is a little bit of burst damage from the Corki, from a missile or something like that. Jason Jungle with an auto Q, something like that. Good flame spitter coming through from disconnector, and that person, whoever tanked that, is going to have to be out of the fight for the remainder if they don't die initially.
Yeah, absolutely. Keeping eyes on where these guys position and how they want to play this out is going to be a huge factor. And it's very surprising the kills have pretty much stalled out. We saw a lot of early aggression, but now pretty stagnant at 12 and 12. Both squads really don't want to give up any global pressure. They don't want to allow themselves to get caught out at any minor moment. And something we didn't really get to point out, City Witty has honestly, around this point in game number 1, he was sitting on, I think, about 10 stacks on his Kindred. And this time around, he only has 3. So his power level, even though he's 3-1 and 3, drastically lower than what it was in game number 1.
And despite some of the earlier game resources City Witty had with the pressure in all of his lanes, it's actually a really strong Trundle at this moment because of all the armor that he has. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but soaks quite a bit. The Randuins, the Bramble Vest to be able to apply Grievous, all this kind of stuff is going to culminate in a Trundle that's going to last a lot longer in fights, especially if he's able to ult the Aatrox, steal that, like a little bit of resistance they've got away in that Death Stance. That's going to be the big point of contention in my mind, is that this Trundle slowly is going to become nearly unkillable by a team full of ADCs without armor penetration. It does look like Ezreal's going towards that third Whisper item. Love that build path. I think it's super, super effective against a lot of people, let alone tanks. Hero, wow, has to burn that ultimate. Here comes Jason Jungle.
Yeah, that's going to be the Final Chapter being burned down. Jason Jungle gets chunked out, but the Equalizer burning everyone down ever so slowly. Lamer Society used to buy a little bit of time. There it is, Easton running away as well, but look at the health bars. There it is, Easton dances for it, doesn't get a catch out though. That's going to be the health bars melting for the side of Charlotte Phoenix, and they are running for the hills, but Speedo says, no, you are locked in here with me. One more Slam Keats disconnector in that fight, and Dapshin, the cat on the book, is now the cat on the run, as it is a clean 4-for-0, and that signals the global objectives being taken by the side of world-class Empyrean.
Say not in love with the fact that Charlotte Phoenix took that secondary engagement. They burned the Kindred ultimate, get a lot out. They ended up burning the flash of the Ezreal. They got the flash from the Kindred all during the course of that final fight. And the equalizer was so effective early. I'm so surprised that they opted to take the fight afterwards. Jason Jungle lost the majority of his health bar. Easton was a little far out, so it took him quite a bit of mobility just to get into the fight. He had nothing left to get out. But if they break the fight right there, it was equalizer for Kindred ultimate. That's a worthwhile trade, especially when you burnt defensive cooldowns like flashes from a lot of the members. There's nothing else you have to do. You're done right there. If they go to the Baron, you beat them at Baron. If they go to the Dragon, you beat them at Dragon. If you try to push out waves, you just push them back because they don't have the damage to work with it, because they've lost all the cooldowns that are imperative to their team play. It was just a little bit of an overextension. Charlotte Phoenix smelled blood in the water, but it wasn't there. It was just it was kind of like a red herring to them to be able to take that fight.
Yeah, now with both Baron as well as fourth Drake, that is going to be Hero getting dumpstered by Lost in a moment. He might get chased out here, though. Now flashes over the wall, keeping himself alive, but here comes the rest of the squad. Disconnector says, nah, sorry, you got to pay.
That was a little painful. Again, Disconnector slowly picking up quite a bit of gold. He has the Oblivion Horn and the Leanderies for quite a bit of damage coming through from the Qs and the Es, but they have too many resources spent topside. Jason Jungle was up there. They lost Hero in the process, and the Rumble and the Yumi are both sitting up there, and they're going to lose a lot of their mid lane here. And not to mention, again, Speedo going towards the bottom side of the map. They have to pull all their members to try to protect this inhibitor, and they're still pushing on the bottom side with this Aatrox. That is a rough position to be in. You got to try to stop the bleeding somewhere. I think bot lane's a better commitment here just to make sure that you don't lose that.
Equalizer does go down, and that's gonna not do very much as the Baron powered minions are still there. Citywitty does take a harpoon to the backside. He is gonna get locked up by the final chapter. Goes very, very low, but Lamb's side keeps him alive. Here comes a teleport coming out of Speedo. This could be the game-ending fight. There it is. Actually, no, that's Ezreal coming in, and that's a 3-for-0. Make that 4-for-1. As again, a valiant attempt coming out of Charlotte Phoenix, but they fall as Easton in the fountain, watching his base burn. This was world-class Empyrean holding on for a majority of game number one. It came down to a base race, but game number two, much cleaner this time around. Citywitty giving a pity kill over to Easton, boosting it to a 4-4-4 stat line, but that is going to be world-class Empyrean taking the series 2-0 in a commanding game number two.
It was a little bit surprising from Charlotte Phoenix because they looked so good early on into the game comparative to the first game, yet at the end of the game, they were losing track of cooldowns. It's like the little basic stuff, summoner spells, ultimate cooldowns, things of that sort. They use the Rumble ultimate to push off a Baron wave, then wait another wave, then take the engagement mid lane. Like, that's just confusing to me. Why would you waste that ultimate if you're going to end up taking the engagement? Either commit to the engagement or just leave. Like, just walk away, lose the inhibitor, go bot lane, defend against the Aatrox. You don't have to worry about it, but you're losing the consistent fight every time against a team of ADCs. I'm just lost as to where it was that the communication was from these cooldowns, because that was the big turning point of the game.
Yeah. I also wanted to point out, pretty much front to back, we saw the Corki. Yes, Corki could do a lot of damage, but I think we also neglected to manage that every single time Corki had the package, it was burned early in either a preemptive getaway or burning it trying to get a catch. And, I think that's a huge part of Corki's kit. You don't have that available, you're pretty much losing out on about 20 to 25% of his firepower.
Not to mention, I mean, Daption felt like he was always attached to Jason Jungle or Easton. And I mean, you throw him on the Corki, and the Corki can make those aggressive plays happen. You can try to Valkyrie in, get something going. Again, I think to that Dragon play where they ended up trading 1-for-1, they lost the Dragon Lights the fight afterwards as maybe the turning point for the whole game. If Daption had been attached to Hero, when he goes in, he gets that massive field, gets half his health bar back. They don't trade 1-for-1, they get the Dragon. Game looks entirely different from that point on. But because he wasn't attached, maybe, again, is it communication? Is it Hero going too far? Is Adaption not knowing to be on top of his mid laner instead of his jungler? Because, again, Jason Jungle not running Warrior Trundle. He's not running any sort of variant of damage. It's all tank Trundle. And, yeah, you could throw heals his way, do that kind of thing, keep him alive because he soaks a lot more because of the armor. That's not valuable. You want to keep your damage up and alive, and Hero was the big portion of it. And yeah, he was being very aggressive. So my question is, where is the flaw in the system? Is it their lack of tracking cooldowns? Is it the over-aggression from certain players? Is it mispositioning? That's what's hard to diagnose at this point, because they had the tools to win both game one and game two. They just played way too far ahead of where they were.
And I think, we've been talking about Charlotte Phoenix, of course, but I think it also comes down to the fact that honestly, world class Imperium came to play this week. They came to really show what they could do from the start of game number 2. We were watching them play. They commanded a lot of those early engages. And again, they flipped the switch right in that mid game. I mean, we got to give massive props to the squad for this time playing a much cleaner late game with the composition that they had at hand.
They did it both games, just playing the late game so much better than their opposition. I also got to give a ton of credit to City Witty. He took this Kindred pick, who a lot of people talk about Kindred being able to be an early game champion. I don't always see that being the case, just because, of course, people. Yeah, he's an ADC. You don't always want to play super aggressive. City Witty was constantly in the face of Jason Jungle, making plays happen, making fights happen, taking something aggressive, pushing the early game boundaries of this champion. And arguably it's what won the earlier stages of the game for this team. They had the ability to put pressure on, or at least they knew what they needed to do to support City Witty's early aggression, to take some of the wind out of the sails of Jason Jungle. You let him roam free, maybe Hero gets further ahead, maybe Disconnector gets a little further ahead, but instead it was always City Witty making those early plays. Like I said, I was very impressed with his Kindred in games 1 and 2. I thought it was a defining point for the team.
Yeah, and I mean, we've gone over it all. These guys have played their hearts out. Both sides really put on a show for us. We didn't know who was going to win until that latter stage, which I think is always a joy to watch these squads fight it out. And now, both of these teams now sitting at 2-2. Again, as we stated, the group of life, anyone can really make it out. Anyone can make a run for those top spots out of their group. I got to ask you, coming in here, world class Empyrean, if you had to pick an MVP, I think I know where you're going to go with it, obviously, but I do want to get your opinion. I mean, these guys played their hearts out. Who do you think stood out the most in this series?
I thought they played together very well as a team in general, so it's tough to pick just a pure MVP off of that basis. I thought just in terms of individual play, maybe the little micro macro decisions that had come through on an individual player basis, City Witty was a little further ahead. Like I said, he constantly putting pressure onto Jason Jungle, never letting him sit there and be a little bit like farm up, become the tank, become the frontliner. No, I like that pressure that he put on. It was a little bit of stuff. Again, it's a very close decision too, but I thought City Witty did a fantastic job of it. And addressing also the group of life. I mean, now you've got 2-2 teams sitting, because I think it was Charlotte Phoenix now falls to 2-2, and now Empyreans go up to 2-2. You still have Life Support, who won a game up against Charlotte Phoenix coming into second rotation to potentially play them again, and you still have a 2-1 team. I don't know if we have results from tonight, whether or not those teams have played yet or not, but still, all of them are clustered together in the middle. Anyone can get out, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, these squads are definitely pushing their way into a defining scenario, right? These squads, we won't know pretty much until the very end who is going to make it out, and that's what makes it all the more exciting. But that is going to be it for us here on the desk today from Upsurge Premier League. I mean, these squads did a fantastic job. Congratulations to World Class Empyrean. That is going to be it for us here today, but don't forget, we do have more action coming your way in the latter stages of this week. On Thursday, we have the Upsurge Contenders League, which we will see the Prophecy Gaming going against Risen Esports. And then on Friday, the Upsurge Minor League will be going on with Ignitus Esports versus Akuma Sabres. So you won't want to miss either of those. But again, from us here at the desk, my name is Orbital. I was joined here by Rebel Fox. And again, from all of us here at the broadcast desk, as well as production crew, thank you so much for tuning in, and have a fantastic night.